Ludwig van Beethoven stands as one of history's most influential and revolutionary composers, bridging the classical and romantic periods of Western music. His extraordinary life story encompasses triumph over adversity, artistic innovation, and an unwavering dedication to musical expression that fundamentally transformed the landscape of classical music. Ludwig van Beethoven was born in Bonn, Germany, on December 17, 1770, into a musical family of Flemish origin. His grandfather, also named Ludwig van Beethoven, was a respected Kapellmeister, music director, at the court of the Elector of Cologne. However, Beethoven's father, Johann van Beethoven, was a lesser musician and court tenor, whose career was marred by alcoholism and erratic behavior. Johann recognized his son's musical talent early and, hoping to create another child prodigy like Mozart, began giving Ludwig piano lessons at age 4. The instruction was often harsh and demanding, with Johann sometimes forcing the young boy to practice through the night. Despite this difficult beginning, Beethoven's musical gifts were undeniable, and by age 7, he was performing publicly in Cologne. Beethoven's formal musical education began under Christian Gottlob Neefe, the court organist, who became his first significant mentor. Under Neefe's guidance, Beethoven studied Bach's well-tempered clavier and began composing his first works. By age 12, he had published his first composition, and at 14, he was appointed assistant court organist, earning his first regular income. The young Beethoven briefly traveled to Vienna in 1787, where he may have met Mozart, though historical evidence remains inconclusive. Financial difficulties and his mother's illness forced him to return to Bonn quickly, where he assumed increasing responsibility for his family as his father's alcoholism worsened. His mother, Maria Magdalena, died when he was 17, leaving Beethoven as the de facto head of household. During his remaining years in Bonn, Beethoven continued developing his compositional skills while supporting his family. He formed important friendships with the Breuning family, who provided him with access to literature and philosophy that would influence his later works. He also began studying the music of Handel and Mozart intensively, laying the groundwork for his future innovations. In November 1792, Beethoven moved permanently to Vienna, the musical capital of Europe, to study with Joseph Haydn. This relocation marked the beginning of his most productive period and his emergence as a major musical force. However, his relationship with Haydn was complicated, as the older composer found Beethoven's rebellious nature and innovative ideas challenging. Beethoven quickly established himself in Viennese society, initially as a virtuoso pianist rather than a composer. His improvisational skills at the piano were legendary, and he gained patronage from aristocratic families including the Lichnowskis, Lobkowitz, and Razumovskis. This support system allowed him the freedom to compose without the constraints of traditional court employment. During his first decade in Vienna, Beethoven composed his first 2 symphonies, the first 6 string quartets, op. 18, the first 3 piano concertos, and numerous piano sonatas, including the Pathétique and Moonlight sonatas. These works demonstrated his mastery of classical forms while hinting at the revolutionary changes to come. However, by 1798, Beethoven began experiencing the first symptoms of hearing loss, a devastating development for any musician. Initially manifesting as difficulty hearing high frequencies and understanding speech in noisy environments, his deafness would progressively worsen throughout his life. The psychological impact was enormous, leading him to contemplate suicide, as revealed in his famous Heiligenstadt Testament of 1802, a letter to his brothers that he never sent. Beethoven's decision to continue living and composing despite his deafness marked the beginning of what scholars call his heroic or middle period. This decade saw the creation of some of his most celebrated and revolutionary works, characterized by expanded forms, emotional intensity, and unprecedented musical expression. The Third Symphony, Eroica, premiered in 1805 and represented a watershed moment in symphonic composition. Originally dedicated to Napoleon Bonaparte, whom Beethoven initially admired as a champion of democratic ideals, the dedication was angrily rescinded when Napoleon declared himself emperor. The symphony's length, complexity, and emotional scope far exceeded anything previously attempted in the form. This period produced a remarkable succession of masterworks: the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Symphonies, the Emperor Piano Concerto, the Violin Concerto, the Razumovsky String Quartets, piano sonatas including the Waldstein and Appassionata, and his only opera, Fidelio. The Fifth Symphony, with its famous four-note opening motif representing fate knocking at the door, became one of the most recognizable pieces in classical music. Fidelio, Beethoven's sole complete opera, underwent extensive revisions and reflects his commitment to themes of freedom, justice, and human dignity. The work's message of liberation from tyranny resonated deeply with Beethoven's own philosophical beliefs and his admiration for Enlightenment ideals. During this period, Beethoven also experienced several romantic attachments, including relationships with Giulietta Guicciardi, Josephine Brunswick, and most mysteriously, the unknown, immortal beloved, to whom he wrote passionate letters in 1812. His deafness and increasingly difficult personality, however, made lasting relationships challenging. Following his extraordinarily productive heroic period, Beethoven entered a phase marked by personal difficulties and reduced compositional output. His hearing loss had become severe, requiring the use of conversation books for communication by 1814. He struggled with poor health, including digestive problems and depression, while his nephew Karl became a source of ongoing concern and legal battles. After his brother Karl died in 1815, Beethoven engaged in a prolonged custody battle with Karl's widow over guardianship of 9-year-old Karl. Beethoven's interference in the boy's life and his attempts to control his upbringing created tension and ultimately damaged their relationship. This family drama consumed much of his emotional energy and contributed to his decreased productivity. Despite these challenges, Beethoven continued composing significant works during this period. The Seventh and Eighth Symphonies, completed during the Congress of Vienna, showcased his continued innovation within established forms. The Piano Sonata Opera 101 began pointing toward the more introspective style that would characterize his final period. His deafness, now nearly complete, paradoxically seemed to liberate his compositional style. No longer able to perform publicly as a pianist, he focused entirely on composition, developing increasingly personal and innovative musical languages that often challenged contemporary audiences and performers. Beethoven's final years produced some of the most profound and challenging music ever composed. The last 5 piano sonatas, the Diabelli Variations, the Missa Solemnis, the Ninth Symphony, and the late string quartets represent the pinnacle of his artistic achievement and continue to influence musicians and composers today. The Piano Sonata, number 32 in C minor, Opernant 1-11, his final sonata, consists of only 2 movements but achieves remarkable emotional depth and technical innovation. The Variations movement's transcendent conclusion seems to point beyond earthly concerns toward spiritual resolution. The Diabelli Variations, 33 variations on a simple waltz theme by publisher Anton Diabelli, transformed a trivial melody into a profound meditation on the nature of musical composition itself. Beethoven initially dismissed Diabelli's theme as a cobbler's patch, but ultimately created one of the greatest variation cycles in musical literature. The Missa Solemnis, begun as a work for Archduke Rudolph's installation as Archbishop of Olmütz, became a massive, deeply personal statement of faith. Far exceeding the liturgical requirements of a traditional Mass setting, the work explores themes of human suffering, divine mercy, and ultimate redemption. The Ninth Symphony, premiered in 1824 to tremendous acclaim, represented Beethoven's final statement in the symphonic form. The inclusion of vocal soloists and chorus in the finale, setting Schiller's Ode to Joy, created an unprecedented fusion of symphonic and choral music. The work's message of universal brotherhood and human dignity became an enduring symbol of hope and unity. The late string quartets, composed between 1824 and 1826, pushed the boundaries of the medium to their limits. Works like the Quartet Op. 131 in C-sharp minor, with its 7 continuous movements, and Op. 135 in F major, With its questioning motto, "Must it be? It must be," explore profound philosophical and emotional territories with unprecedented musical means. Beethoven's health deteriorated significantly in his final years. He suffered from liver disease, possibly cirrhosis, along with various other ailments. His relationship with his nephew Karl remained troubled, culminating in the young man's suicide attempt in 1826, which devastated Beethoven. Despite his physical decline, Beethoven continued composing almost until his death. His final complete work was the String Quartet Op. 135, finished in October 1826. He was working on a 10th symphony and had sketched movements for string quintets when illness overtook him. Ludwig van Beethoven died on March 26, 1827, during a thunderstorm, at age 56. According to witnesses, he raised his fist toward the sky as thunder crashed overhead, a gesture that seemed to embody his lifelong struggle against fate and adversity. His funeral in Vienna attracted over 20,000 mourners, testimony to his impact on the musical world and society at large. Beethoven's influence on subsequent music history cannot be overstated. He expanded the scope and expressive possibilities of every form he touched, from the symphony and string quartet to the piano sonata and song. His integration of philosophical and political ideals into purely instrumental music established the romantic conception of the artist as a heroic figure struggling to express profound truths. The formal innovations of his middle-period symphonies became templates for 19th-century composers, while his late works continue to challenge and inspire performers and audiences nearly 2 centuries after their composition. His influence extends beyond classical music into jazz, rock, and popular music, with his melodies and rhythms appearing in countless arrangements and adaptations. Perhaps most significantly, Beethoven transformed the social position of the composer from craftsman to artist-prophet. His success in maintaining independence from traditional patronage systems while demanding respect as a creative equal to his aristocratic supporters paved the way for future generations of musicians. Today, Ludwig van Beethoven remains a towering figure whose music continues to move, challenge, and inspire listeners worldwide. His triumph over personal adversity through artistic creation serves as an enduring example of human resilience and the transformative power of art. From the revolutionary energy of the Eroica Symphony to the transcendent peace of his final quartets, Beethoven's musical legacy stands as one of humanity's greatest cultural achievements, a testament to the indomitable spirit of artistic creation in the face of life's greatest challenges. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more engaging historical content.